In this tutorial, I'll be showing you guys how to save and load data using resources in Godot. Alright, so first of all, if you don't know what a resource is, I'll go through how to create one and exactly what it is. So I have like two scenarios in this project, and I'll most likely put a link in the description to the GitHub. But there's two examples of using the data storing and stuff. So the simpler one, which is the one we're going to go over, is this, and you can see that at the top I have to write extends resource instead of node when you originally create a script. And yeah, so to create a resource script thing, you just right click on a folder, press new script, and that's it. And you change the name, save it, and then you just type in this. So something to go over is the class name has to be right after extends resource, and this can be whatever you want. So I wrote number data for short, but it could be anything. Like it could be I don't know, mouse data, something, whatever. It doesn't even have to have data in the name. And then you're gonna have variables inside your resource, and you could have functions inside the resource. But if you want them to save data, the variables have to have the export annotation in front of the variable, otherwise it will not work. And it'll make sense in a bit, like what this actually does. So let me go to the actual script. Actually, let me go over the scene tree. So I have a button that will add a random number to this array, and in this label will its text will show the entire string. And then we have a save and load button, and that's pretty self-explanatory. Saves and loads. Okay, so let's go over what each line does. So this line is the file path, and this is the file name. You need to have like this part the same and this slash the same. You can change this save to whatever you want, and then the file name, anything before the period you can change to whatever you'd like, but you need to have the .truss there. And the reason why we have to have user, it's basically, if you know what app data is, so I'm not going to pull up my file system because it has information I don't want people to see, but this is what it would look like if it stores the script or the data, and this is directly from my app data. You can see the num save.truss, and this is what it looks like. I have no clue what all this means, but it works. You can see the numbers is stored here, so that's how we know it works. Alright, so I'll X out of that, and we have another variable called number data, and it's going to create a new resource of num data. So resources, you can think of them almost like a node that's not an actual node, except it just stores data and functions, except it's not in the scene tree. Well, they're really useful, and I'm not probably the best explainer for explaining what these resources do, so I'll leave a link in the description to like another video by someone else, because I don't want to confuse anyone. Alright, and then over here we just have a bunch of references to the save button, load button, and then the label, which displays the numbers. And then we have two export variables, which are the ranges of the random number that is added to our label. And that's not really important, but everything above the label reference is something you definitely need in your project if you're trying to replicate this. And you need these two functions too. So when we load the game, we're just gonna basically create a path to the save file path. And I believe, actually never mind. Yeah, I don't know. And you can see the direct access is yeah, you can see like exactly what it does. It just basically opens the file or lets it be recognized. I don't know exactly, but anyways, this is the signal we connected with the add number button, and all we do is call randomize, and then we append a random number from the range min to max, and we add it to our number data, which is a resource. So unlike normal variables where you just, like, instead of just having like a normal variable called like numbers, right, and then just appending it a value to numbers, right, we have to call number data because that is a num data resource, and then we have to call the numbers array or variable, which is inside the num data. And this is similar to classes in other scripts. Basically, it's a class even in Godot, except they're more useful. You can do more things with them, including storing stuff and loading. And then we call update label, which is just setting the string to number data dot numbers. Again, we have to include number data, which is our variable, and then we got to call it the variable name. Alright, but those two lines, those two functions, they're not really important if you want to replicate this into your own project, of course. And then the two other functions are also signals, and we just call print loading to push it out in the output. And then we're going to set number data equal to resource loader, which is another object which is inbuilt into Godot, and we're gonna load a file, which is, it uses these two variables, and then we're gonna duplicate it. And you don't need to include this line, that was just for debugging. Same with this. Okay, and then we call update label because obviously when we load data we want it to be visualized. And then the saving is just resource saver dot save, and then you want your variable, or like the variable that's holding the resource, and then you want your save file path and plus file name. And if you didn't know, when you add two strings, it just combines them, so it would just be this, basically. That's what it would look like. And yeah, if you want to know how to connect a signal, you just have to click on a node, click the node option on the right hand side, you press on the pressed signal, and then you press connect, and then you double click on the node that has a script that you want the signal to connect to. Alright, so let's run it. So we're gonna add a bunch of numbers. We're gonna click save, and then we're gonna add more numbers, but these numbers are not gonna be saved. So when we press load, we should get the original numbers back. So let's try it. Yep, and I don't know exactly what the numbers were, but I'm almost 100% sure that those are right. I don't understand how it would go wrong, but anyways, if you just wanted to check out a quick tutorial, then this is the end of the video for you. If you want to see another way to use this, a more complicated way, and another way to use resources, then you can watch the rest of the video. Alright, so this one is a little more complicated. It's a goal tracker, right? So when you press this add button, right, this background will pop up and you can enter the details of the goal and press enter on each of the text, the line edits, I think they're called, yeah, and it will send a signal basically to create a new goal, and it's just gonna instance a, let me pull up the thing, the goal rect. Alright, and it's gonna instance this, which this is all it is basically, and it contains a goal resource, and the goal resource sets all the values basically, so like the text and then the date. And then we connect two signals. This one is not used at the moment, but if you want to delete a goal, you need to connect that. And back to this script. This is also not necessary. Yeah, so you just instance a new goal rect, right? Which is defined over here. And you can notice that I have the save file path is the same, but the save file name is a little different. They'll be saved in the same folder, but the names will be different, so they don't like overlap. And then we have our goal data, right, which is a goal data instance basically. And this is, I forgot to delete that. And yeah, this is all that's in the goal data, but the goal data stores goal resources, and it's a really easy way to keep your project nice and clean. And I kind of base this off of like an inventory system, so if you're ever thinking about making an inventory system from scratch, I definitely recommend using resources, because otherwise it's a real pain. Yeah, so basically the goal resource has all the variables that define a single goal, and the goal data will store all these goals, and these functions are how it keeps track of the goals. And we're going to be storing this variable. Oh, and I forgot to mention, you also gotta put export annotations on sub resources. I think it's called sub resources, but yeah, even include export annotations on these variables, otherwise they won't get stored, so you'll just end up getting a blank goal rect. Okay, anyways, everything else is practically the same. Yeah, that's basically the same. If you want to automate the saves, you can just call the save function wherever something changes. Yeah, but don't call the save function in like physics process or like process unless you want your computer to die. Yeah, so if you want to see what this does, oh, I forgot to mention the load goals will just it'll iterate through each goal in the stored data, and it'll just instance the goals. And this script is pretty messy, but I was in a rush, and you know, it's for the sake of a tutorial, and I don't want to waste a bunch of time creating it. Anyways, let's just see what this does. Alright, so let's press the add button. We're gonna call this goal 1. Press enter to confirm that, and we'll enter a date. Doesn't matter, I can do whatever the hell I want. And you can see the goal appeared. Let's press save. Let's change this slightly different, because why not? Alright, so if I press load, you'll notice that the goals, or this one will basically erase itself. So, oh, that's not what happened. Okay, well, when you load goals, you need to clear the current goals. Otherwise, you're gonna see that again. So we can just do for child in VBox container dot get children child dot queue free. Alright, and that should be it. So let's try it again. Type some random things in there. Doesn't really matter. Okay, so let's save. And actually, I don't know how to. I didn't include a option to get out of that menu, but alright, so we can like delete this. Let's just delete everything, and then we press load, and only 2 of them come back, which is what we wanted to happen, because that's when we press save. We press save before we added the 3rd one. Anyways, if you like this tutorial and if you want to see more, please subscribe, like the video, and leave tutorial suggestions down in the comments. I'll gladly make them. And if you're wondering about the 3rd part of the maze series, I'm probably gonna edit and publish it right after this video is published.